He was sitting in his room, smoking a pipe just before going to bed. He had a tiring day and his wife was asleep. The doorbell rang and Dr. Watson looked up the clock. The time was 11:45. He wondered who could have come to visit him at this hour. He opened the door. To his surprise, he found Sherlock Holmes standing at the door.
"Watson, I hope I am not too late."
Dr. Watson told him to come inside and sit. Holmes said, "Watson, I wish to stay here tonight." Dr. Watson said he was most welcome. Holmes said, "I am in the middle of a very confusing case. Would you be able to accompany me tomorrow?" Dr. Watson said he would gladly do so. Lighting his pipe, Holmes continued,
"I will tell you the details of the case if you are not too sleepy. Have you read the newspaper? The murder of Colonel Berkeley is the case. I am involved in investigating it. Well, anyway, the facts are such. The Royal Munsters, a regiment of the British Army, is well known to all. Until last Monday, this regiment was commanded by Colonel Berkeley. Colonel Berkeley joined the army as a soldier and soon rose to the position of a colonel. When he was a sergeant, he married the daughter of a former sergeant, Miss Nancy Devoy. Colonel Berkeley was very devoted to his wife. Some people say that he was more devoted to his wife than his wife was to him. The murder of Colonel Berkeley has been stationed at Aldershot, and Colonel Berkeley lives in a bungalow called Lakeene, about half a mile from the camp. The house is all alone, but on its west side the road only 30 yards away. The house has very few servants. There is coachman and 2 maids. Colonel Berkeley does not have children. The colonel and his wife do not go out much. Mrs. Berkeley is a member in church and occasionally goes to attend the meetings there. She went to a meeting at 8 o'clock with her friend and companion, Mrs. Morrison, a lady who lives close to them. The meeting lasted 40 minutes, and at 9:15 p.m., Mrs. Berkeley returned home. There is a room in the house, which is used as the morning room. It faces the road on the west side of the house, and a glass door opens out onto the garden. The west side of the house is divided from the road by a low wall with an iron railing on it. Mrs. Berkeley went into the morning room after she returned from her meeting and asked the maid to bring her a cup of tea.
"Please bring me a cup of tea."
The colonel heard his wife, and he got up from his chair in the dining room and joined his wife. The maid brought the tea after 10 minutes.
"You coward! See what you
and
did to
she was
me!"
surprised to hear the voices of her master and mistress. They were fighting loudly. The maid knocked on the door, but no one answered. She tried turning the knob to open the door, but it had been locked on the inside. The maid heard the voices rising rapidly, and she ran down to fetch the cook. The maid returned with the cook and the coachman, and they tried knocking on the door. They could not hear what the colonel was saying, but they heard the voice of Mrs. Berkeley, saying repeatedly, "You coward! You coward! Give me back my life." As the servants listened to this, they suddenly heard the colonel cry out aloud, and then there was the sound of a crash. This was followed by a scream from Mrs. He suddenly had an idea, remembering that the morning room opened out onto the garden, and he ran out. He found a window open and climbed in to find his mistress in a faint upon the sofa, and his master on the floor in a pool of his own blood. His master was dead. The coachman tried to open the door, but could not find the key anywhere. He went out by the window and came back with a doctor and a policeman. The lady was removed to another room, still unconscious. The colonel's body was placed upon the sofa and carefully examined. The colonel had a collection of antique weapons, and he had decorated his wall with them. There was a jagged cut on the back of his head, and on the floor was found a club of carved wood with a handle of bone. There was nothing else that was found. The key couldn't be found.
Holmes paused a while and began again.
But it was not found on the Colonel or his wife, and so I came to the conclusion that a third person must have entered the room, and I examined the garden under the window. I found 5 clear prints of the man who had come in, and I also saw that he had run away from the window towards the road. But what interested me more were the prints of his companion.
Dr. Watson cried.
His companion!
Holmes pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket and unfolded it. The paper was covered with the footprints of some small animal. Dr. Watson said,
It looks like the paws of a dog.
No, Watson, it cannot be a dog. Have you seen a dog run up a curtain? I saw the paw prints of this animal upon the curtain. It had run up to get at the canary, which was in a cage, hanging from the ceiling. I do not know what the animal is, but if we knew, we would be able to solve the case easily. When Mrs. Barclay had gone out to the meeting, she was in a good mood. The servants say so. When she returned, she had asked for some tea, and this suggests that she was no longer in a good mood. Something must have happened in the Mrs. Morrison knows about it, but she hasn't told me yet. So I went again to see Mrs. Morrison and told her that I knew she was hiding something from me, and that, unless she told me, Mrs. Barclay might end up in jail. She thought for a while and said that she had promised Mrs. Barclay that she would say nothing to anyone. But I compelled her, and she finally told me that on their way back from the church meeting, they were passing through a quiet and lonely part of Hudson Street. As they were walking, they saw a man who was bent over and looked very ugly. He cried out,
My God, Nancy, is that you?
Henry, I thought you had been dead for 30 years.
Then Mrs. Barclay told companion to wait and walked a little farther to talk with the crooked ma alone. When she came back, her eyes looked angry, and the crooked man was shaking his fists in anger too. Mrs. Barclay told her companion to promise her that she would tell no one about her meeting with the crooked man. I heard her story and went into Aldershot, inquiring about the crooked man. I found out that his name is Henry Wood, and he lives in the same street where he met the ladies. He has been living there only for the past 5 days. He is a conjurer and a performer by trade, and he performs in the night, going from place to place, and collects small change from people. He has a small animal in a box, and I talked to the landlady of the house, and she says she has never seen an animal like that before. He had given her a coin, and she showed it to me. It was an Indian rupee.
Dr. Watson was quite astonished as he said, My dear Holmes, you have almost solved the entire mystery. What do you need me for? Holmes said, Watson, my dear friend, I need a witness to listen to the story that the crooked man will tell us.
And will still be there tomorrow. He might leave for some other place at any time.
Watson, I have already placed a boy to guard him and take a note of all that he does. Even if he leaves, I will know.
Yes, I am Henry Wood. What do I have to do with some colonel's death?
If you not wish to tell us the truth, let me tell you that your friend Mrs. Barclay will certainly go to jail.
You see me now crooked and ugly, but back then I was very handsome. Nancy's father wanted her to marry Barclay. We were in a place called Bertie in India, and a lot of rebels had surrounded us. At 10 o'clock in the night, I started on my journey. As soon as I left the camp, I was captured by the enemy, and they took me prisoner. I couldn't understand their talk, but I got to understand that Barclay had secretly given them information to capture me. General Neil arrived at Purty the next day, where I was held as a prisoner. They tortured me for many years.
Your story is very interesting. Then you saw Mrs. Nancy on the road by accident and spoke to her. Then she returned home, and there was a fight between her and Mr. Barclay. She called him a coward for what he had done to you. You had followed her, and when you saw them fighting from the garden, you entered the room by the window. Am I right?
Barclay fell back and knocked his head violently on the club, lying on the floor, and he was dead. Mrs. Barclay fainted. She had the key in her hand, and I snatched it to open the door and get help. But then I thought that I might be accused of murdering the Colonel. So I tried to get away and put the key in my pocket to go out of the window, but Teddy started climbing the curtain to catch the canary. I caught him, put him into his box, and left.
Holmes asked, "Who's Teddy?" The crooked man leaned over and opened the hatch of a small box, and out came a beautiful reddish-brown mongoose with smooth skin and sharp eyes. Dr. Watson cried, "It's a mongoose!" The crooked man said, "Some call him a mongoose, but I call him snake catcher. He is the finest snake catcher I have seen. Is there anything else you need to ask me?" Holmes said, "No, there isn't. But if Mrs. Barclay should be taken to Co., then I will call for you and you must come." And glancing out at the road, he continued, "Ah, there goes Major Murphy. We shall leave now, Mr. Henry Wood." Catching up with Major Murphy, Holmes asked, "Major, any developments in the case?" The Major turned and said, "Ah, Holmes, haven't you heard? The doctor says that Colonel Barclay died apoplexy, so Mrs. Barclay has nothing to fear." On their way home, Dr. Watson asked, "Tell me, Holmes, if the name of the crooked man was Henry, then why did Mrs. Barclay utter the name David?" Holmes smiled and said, "She was referring to the story of David from the Bible. In the story, David committed a mistake similar to Colonel Barclay committed."